We are following breaking news. New video from the house of the parents of a missing 7-month-old child. Those parents are now under arrest and charged with his murder.
They laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, "Hola," and that's all I remember.
That video per KABC. It was a little more than a week ago. Rebecca and Jake Haro were on the local news in Los Angeles pleading for the public to help find their son.
Whoever took our son, please give him back.
But this morning, law enforcement were back at their home and they were put under arrest. What we know about the whereabouts of little Emmanuel right now. We're on the case presented by Law&Crime. I'm Chris Stewart. We are still gathering details right now from law enforcement about the arrest of the parents of 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro. This is now a murder investigation, and this is drone video shot by missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher above the home of Rebecca and Jake Haro today in Cabazon, California. Initially, law enforcement said they were conducting an operation at the home, but shortly after that, they told us Rebecca and Jake Haro were taken into custody accused of murder. At the time of this recording, deputies say they are continuing their search for 7-month-old Emmanuel Haro. Here's a picture that law enforcement put out of the boy. This story started on Thursday night last week when his mom said that she was attacked and the boy was taken when she went to change him in a parking lot of a sporting goods store about 20 minutes from their home in Yucaipa, California.
They laid him down and so I could get his diapers ready. And somebody said, "Hola," and that's all I remember. Rebecca said that on KABC TV. Here is what Jake Haro, the dad, said.
Whoever took our son, please give him back.
Over the next couple of days, as the search for Emmanuel continued, deputies say they found inconsistencies in the story Rebecca Haro was giving. They said when they called her out on those inconsistencies, she stopped cooperating with them. Deputies said they could not rule out foul play. Deputies also say they took a 2-year-old from the home and they seized a family car. They also had served search warrants at this house already, so it's unclear today what evidence made deputies make this arrest and know for sure in their minds that they were dealing with a murder. Jake Haro has a lawyer. His name is Vincent Hughes, and as of yesterday, he was claiming his client was innocent and ready to speak to investigators. Here's what he said on News Nation's Banfield.
Why have Rebecca and Jake stopped cooperating with the police if they're desperate to find the baby and the police are looking for the baby?
I don't know where the statement that they stopped cooperating came from, Ashley. I spoke to the detectives yesterday, offered for Jake to continue to speak with them, have not been made aware of any requests today to speak with Jake. I don't represent Rebecca. That needs to be very clear, but I have not been asked to produce Jake. I offered to produce Jake. They voluntarily turned over all of their electronic devices, including the passwords. I think that's something that's huge that nobody has been made aware of.
We did reach out to Hughes today for comment about his client's arrest. He has yet to get back to us at the time of this recording. He was clear in his interview. He is only representing Jake Haro. He is not representing Jake's wife, Rebecca, who is also accused of murder. It is unclear when the last time Emmanuel was seen. This is a huge part to this story. Rebecca said the child was with her at a football game for her other son when she went to the sporting goods store where she claimed that abduction happened. But information's come to light where there are serious questions on whether or not that was true. The Uvalde Foundation for Kids is a nonprofit that was helping in the search for Emmanuel. They offered reward money at first, but they told us they pulled away from helping and pulled their reward money when they learned that Emmanuel was not seen at that football game. And there were also major questions about Rebecca's bruise under her eye because that is not fresh enough to fit the timeline that she gave law enforcement and the public. Joining us now is missing persons private investigator Steve Fisher, who is on scene outside the Haro's home. Steve, I apologize for my voice. I lost it overnight, but some big breaking news we're following here. What are you seeing?
So I got out here, today to continue just doing some searching, including some drone mapping and whatnot. And then early this morning, they served murder warrants on the house for both parents. They came in with a Bearcat. SWAT team came in, and took them out. And now, what's been going on. I've kind of seen some of what's going on from the air, and I've talked to a few of the officers. Detectives are. I've seen them sifting through garbage in the rear corner of the house, and I've seen a couple inside the house. They seem to be focused in one bedroom, which would be the building on the west side of the property.
What might have brought them back? Because they looked at the house before and they had served search warrants there, but then they come back this morning and we don't know what it was that led to the arrest, but what might they be looking for?
It's a good question. We know that they seized their electronics, and they may have even had wiretaps on other family members. Maybe they found something there. But the attorney said something interesting the other day. Although he wasn't correct about them digging holes in the backyard, he did mention something about them digging some sort of holes inside the house. And they do seem to be in this one bedroom. And we don't know how long of a head start they had on this. This child, nobody seems to be able to say when the last time this child was seen. Could that child
Yeah.
be under cement inside? Who knows?
Yeah, I know. And you wonder too, because this was this case where the story was very sketchy, but then to see like murder today, and they don't know where Emmanuel is, but in your experience, to have someone accused of murder when you don't have a body, what type of evidence would you would need something that would make it believe that this
Yeah,
isn't he's not with someone else, that unfortunately this 7-month-old boy is dead.
yes. And you could definitely prove murder circumstantially. However, it's a really high burden, and for them to come out, there was other charges they could have started with if they just wanted to press and get them in custody. He's already on probation. It'd be easy to violate him on a child neglect charge, and same with her and lying to authorities because some of their stories just didn't match up with what we saw in surveillance. However, the DA, who's the one who files these charges, felt that they had enough to go for, murder on both of them. And, or not, it is murder. So they have something, whether it's communications, whether somebody rolled over on them, we don't know yet, another family member or something. Um, they're confident. Sadly, they're confident that he is deceased, and it is at the hands of both of them.
Yeah, and I think the both of them, part of it is interesting because Jake has the one with the attorney. Rebecca does not have an attorney to our understanding, but to charge both of them, and Rebecca's the one who made the claim in the first place, where you would almost think if you have an attorney that he'd be able to say, hey, this was Rebecca's, she did this. We didn't do anything about it. You would have to think that there's something that links them beyond being married.
Yeah, so if it happened, let's say there was mutual combat between them, and then the child got in the middle, or even if it was at the hands of one of them, but the other was there and didn't report it, it's still, it's still homicide. It's still considered murder. So, especially if investigators think this has been a very long time, and then they concoct this story, and you know, it's really it's a fairly sizable family too. There's a lot if you pull their backgrounds, there's a lot of people, family members that actually use this address. Um, I have a lot, there should be a lot of questions for those family members too, because this is like another Harmony Montgomery type situation. Why does nobody seem to know where the child's been? And nobody can account, and including the grandmother who came out and was defending, when did she last see this child? And I think those are questions that I hope are answered.
And you wonder too, the other children who were in the home. I know a 2-year-old was taken out of the house, but what
Mhm.
have they seen? And what can they tell? What have they told investigators? I can see where you are, and it's very vast. I mean, it's just
Yeah.
desert behind you. What is the scene like there around this home? I mean, we've seen it from the drone video you've shot.
So, so they're at the end of a street. Cabazon only has about 2,000 residents. The only thing that's really here is the Casino Morongo, which is I don't know if you can see the tall building there, which they're directly across the 10 from. They're on a street where they have basically one neighbor on their side, and then they have one across the street, and then the one that burnt down, that's one down across the street, and then a sheriff's station. So, but it's very, very remote. There's nothing out here, and this is simply it's really before the casino was built. It was a truck stop, and it's just a truck stop area, and it's about 20 miles to get into like Ucaipa, and then about 25 more miles into Palm Springs. So we're in the middle of nowhere. So as far as not being going undetected, I mean, this is who knows if you wanted to get rid of somebody, there's a ton of area to do it. Not to mention a lot of this is Indian reservation. So then you have access problems, for searching and whatnot. So hopefully they left some sort of digital even there's an amazing ability through programs like Celebrite that are available to law enforcement that they can recover deleted messages and files on phones and stuff like that, and I imagine that probably came into play here as well.
There's part of this story too, Steve, where now we have the murder arrest, the murder investigation, but the biggest question is, where is Emmanuel Haro? And I know we've been
Mhm.
talking about where this story first started in some ways Thursday night with the mom
Yeah.
at Rebecca at the sporting goods store, but like from what you've gathered, how do you figure out when the last time someone saw this child? Because we don't know.
Yeah, so I think you got to go back to events that like you can place her at without the child. So I know I saw her at the funeral service for, I believe it's his brother, one of their brothers. That was on August 5th, I believe. She's clearly in that video. The child doesn't appear to be. So I would ask, okay, who was taking care of the child? And if she can say, hey, it was this babysitter or whatever, and you interview that person and they did indeed, then you can say, okay, the child was alive then. But if she doesn't have a story for that, then you got to keep going backwards to win. You know, I have a feeling, it's just a gut feeling. This child probably hasn't been seen in a couple months. This child's probably been gone a while, and it probably just got to the point where they're like, put some, we have to put this story in motion. Even though it was not a very well thought out one, they might have thought it was, but um, you know, one thing I think is that just I can't get away from, and I just keep thinking about over and over in this case is this didn't have to happen. You know, he was convicted of these child cruelty charges, and
Yep.
he was given 180 days. Now, this is a child that's left with 3% brain function, from what we're told, is blind, um, is has no ability to take care of themselves now. Thank God there was another family member that lovingly took that child in, and he got 180 days sentence for that, which he was given a day in county jail and 179 days of work release where he got to go home at night for essentially, you know, all the quality of life away from he took everything from this child except for their actual life. And that's what the DA for Side County agreed, and that's what the judge agreed to, and that is just wrong. And this is partially on them, as far as I'm concerned. This child wouldn't have been born if he was in jail like he should have been. He was given a 6-year sentence that was all suspended to 180 days. And 79 of that 180 days of work release. He did one day. He did less than somebody that got a DUI would do. And this is permanently um, brain damaged. And I hope that the DA and the judges um, see what understand what's happened here, and we got to be held accountable. You cannot do that thing and get one day of jail. You know,
Yeah, I mean,
it's just
it
not
was
right.
his, and the child in that case was 10 weeks old. It was from a previous, I think, marriage or relationship with his ex-wife. 2018, this baby goes, and I know you saw the reports. I mean, you read through it that, and it's been reported that this child, she's now 7, but her quality of life is so difficult because of Jake Haro. And that's not an alleged thing. It is, he was convicted of it and got off very lightly. And now we're in a situation where he's accused of murder for a boy that we have
Yeah.
no idea where he is. Recapping some of the stuff
Yeah.
we've talked about this week, Steve, because for people who are just joining us, the Big Five store and where
Yep.
Rebecca said all of this happened. No one, and from people you've talked to, no one saw the baby with her when she says he was taken and she was, hit in the face, where suddenly she has this very small black eye for apparently being knocked out and hitting the ground.
I think what they were trying to do is an event, which was the football practice. And I think that was to create some distance from the house. In other words, oh gosh, Manuel's gone missing, but in Ukaipa, it just, listen, in this day and age, there's cameras everywhere, and it doesn't matter if there wasn't on that store, there was other ones. And also, investigators have a lot of tools available to them now, especially, in the digital age, and you're just not going to get away with, something like that. And who knows if the child will ever be found? Look, Harvey Montgomery's still never been found, even though the father's been convicted of murder, and so I hate that thought, but he was robbed of his life, and that's just not fair.
Yeah, what does, because I know the Montgomery case you worked, and people know that case very well. In this one, what does the search look like now, knowing that this is a murder investigation? And even though you don't have a body,
Sure.
there's something that law enforcement found
Mhm.
where they do not
Yeah.
believe this child is alive anymore. What are the type of resources that are going to be used? And what's really the timeline of how long those resources will
Mhm.
be used to find someone?
I think that uh, there's a smaller crew than you might expect to at that house right now. The scientific team is there in their truck and with detectives, and they seem to be focused in a certain part of the house. I think that um, they have reason to believe that there's at least evidence there an event occurred there. If he may have been moved, they'll probably have significant bio evidence. They'll be able to say, okay, you got bio evidence here, so it was moved, the body was moved. Very well may be the reason we got the murder warrant is they may have luminoled that vehicle and found out that there was a body in that car. They might have gotten luminol, they might have run a cadaver dog in there and gotten a hit. Um, but they're focused on the house. And so as far as what the search looks like going forward, um, I think that they'll have a lot to go off of. I- If he, I have a feeling that from the attorney's comment about them digging a hole inside the house, never heard before, probably, um, maybe, or maybe they can dig something up today. But I think they'll have a really good idea. And then I think what you'll see is if they don't recover him there today, they'll have a more pinpointed area um, based on what they do find here. And then listen, now they're charged with murder, right? So if there's going to be any, like, I wanted to try and get this down to second degree murder, so maybe I get out in 40 years, they're going to have to talk, because there's no way that those negotiations are going to happen without finding Emmanuel. And it's going to be one of them would get that deal. So, whoever talked first. So I, I, I think, I do think he'll be found, because there's two of them charged. If there's one charged, it would be difficult. Since there's two charged, I think next day or two, we'll probably have his body.
It'll be interesting to now hear what the story will be for their defense after so many public alleged lies that they told. I mean, on television, looking straight into the camera, sounding at least like they were crying. It's just a very sad, sad development in all of this. Steve Fisher, thank you as always for being with us on Law and Crime.
Appreciate it.
That will do it for On the Case, presented by Law and Crime. Subscribe to us on YouTube and Spotify. I'm Chris Stewart. We'll see you next time.